And we're here with the Agent and Fan Podcast. My name is Chris Leible. I'm the agent. I'm here with my partner, Louis Columna. Lou is the fan. Lou, what's going on, man? How are you?
Not much, man. Just enjoying the summer so far. Getting ready for August baseball, the dog days of summer, and just really kind of looking at these pennant races and see how they're shaping up. So, and then of course, OTAs.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on. But today we have a special edition. It's going to be a basketball edition because we have a very, very special guest. He's a person who's very, very near and dear, although I don't know him very well yet. But his name is Michael Ray Richardson. He's one of the great NBA players. He played a long time in the league. He went over and played in Europe as well. We want to get into that and have a conversation and speak to him about some of the guys he's played against, his long and outstanding career, and just talk about the game of basketball. And we have an added surprise at the end for that.
Yeah, no, it's going to be fun. I mean, this guy, such a great career, longevity-wise, skill-wise, and I'm pretty sure he's going to have a lot of fun stories.
He's really a polarizing figure in NBA history, and for the viewers who don't know him, you're going to get to know him, and it's going to be a treat. So we're looking forward to it. So without further ado, we're going to bring out our guest, Mr. Michael Ray Richardson.
How you guys doing?
Michael Ray, what's up?
What's up, man? It's a pleasure. What's going on?
It's a pleasure to have you. It's been great to catch up with you a little bit on the phone, but I want to save everything for the podcast.
Great. Everything's going great.
Good. Now, Michael Ray, where are you right now?
I am in Lawton, Oklahoma.
Okay. And that's where you make your home. I could see.
That's where I make my home. Yes.
Excellent. Well, it's a pleasure to have you. And we were just talking a little bit about just your career. You've had such a storied career, and maybe some of the younger viewers don't know about it. So we want to talk about it a little bit. I want to just get into it a little bit about from my end. First thing, I wasn't a Knicks fan growing up. My dad took me to a Knicks game, and you were playing, and I was like, who is this dude? Like, this guy's phenomenal. You're a 6'5" point guard, which especially at that time, that was unheard of. You just didn't see that. And it was just a flair you played the game with. And I just couldn't take my eyes off you watching the game. And you played at the time with Ray Williams, who was we called the Ray backcourt.
Right.
And you guys and the team was a pretty good team, I think. Then you had who else was on that? Bill Cartwright, I think, was on that team. Right?
We had Bill Cartwright, Toby Knight, Glenn Gunderzak,
yes,
Campy Russell.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Mike Woodson, was he on that team?
Yes, he was.
Mike Woodson.
Yeah.
Yes, Mike Woodson.
But there was just something, and I just started to watch you play more and more. And even though I wasn't really a Knicks fan, I was like, this guy was. You came to New York. You got drafted by the Knicks, right?
Yes, I was drafted in 1978.
78. And so you came to the Knicks, and you're from Denver, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So you're originally from Denver. You went to Montana State.
I went to the University of Montana.
University of Montana.
The Montana Grizzlies, not the Montana Bobcats.
No. Forget the Bobcats. Forget them. They're the worst.
So Michael Ray, about that, just to get on that for a second. You come from Denver. I mean, Montana is not a hotbed of college basketball. Why Montana?
Well, they had given me a 4-year scholarship where I was able to, as a freshman, I could start and play on the varsity team right away. So I chose the University of Montana.
Awesome. So you had other offers, but you felt for you to be able to start right away, that was the best thing you could do.
Yes.
Got it.
Love the so, in the back.
Michael Ray, so at the time, at this point in time, I was a Nets fan, and you ended up coming over to the Nets.
Yes, it was a matter of fact, it was a It was a 2-for-1 trade. It was Sleepy Floyd and Mickey Johnson for me. At that time, I was in Golden State.
That's right. You were at Golden State. I like, you know what, Michael Ray, we talked about it a little bit. I'm just going off my memory with almost everything. So I really didn't want to look it up. I wanted to just kind of go fresh and see where it was and see where we were and see how I did with it. So you came over from Golden State at the time, a pretty big trade. The Nets are trying to, spark their team a little bit. And really, I think you were just what they needed at that time, right?
Yeah. We had a great year. I played with Otis Birdsong, Albert King, Darryl Dawkins, Buck Williams. We had a hell of a team.
That was a team. I think there was a lot of great players on it. But I mean, to me, and again, maybe you again, I was a little younger at the time. You had guys like Darwin Cook, Kelvin Ramsey, guys that were just good role players. That it was a deep roster. You guys really went 12 deep on that team, and you guys could run some athletes at some of the teams that you were playing against, right?
Yes. Well, we had coming off the bench was Mike Duminski.
Yep. O'Corin.
Michael Curran. Darwin Cook, Calvin Ramsey, and a guy by the name of Bill Willoughby.
Bill Willoughby, Poodles.
Yes, Bill Willoughby.
Bill Willoughby was like a local legend from New Jersey. He was one of the three at that time. He was one of, I think, 3 players that went straight from high school, which is Teaneck High, which is right down the road from where I live, to the NBA with Darryl Dawkins.
Yes.
And Moses, right?
Yes.
And Moses Malone.
Yes.
So that was the only 3 players that ever did that.
Yes. I mean, he was unbelievable. He was a unbelievable player. I mean, he had unbelievable jumping ability. Yeah. But he really couldn't score. But he had unbelievable jumping ability.
He was a super athletic guy. I remember him a little bit. Yeah. But so that team, you guys had a real interesting mix of guys. Now, you mentioned Darryl Dawkins. Darryl Dawkins was a real character, hilarious, funny guy. We lost him way too young, but he was a guy who I think people expected to be a mega star, maybe never reached that level, but he was a very good NBA player and a really nice person, I recall.
Darryl was probably one of the most funniest guys that you ever want to meet. And he had unbelievable talent for his size, but he just didn't have the work ethic. You know what I mean?
Yep.
All he wanted to do in a game was just get a couple of spectacular dunks, and he was good.
And he was the first one to break the backboard.
He was the first one.
And I think he tried to break it most of the time.
Yeah, listen, during practice, if he wanted to get out of practice, he would break a backboard.
That's unbelievable.
That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
So this is actually funny, and I don't even know if you'll even remember this or not. You probably won't, but I mean, to me, it's in my memory so like deep in there. So my dad's company had season tickets to the Nets, and they had pretty good seats. And there was a day, and you probably did a bunch of these back in the day, and probably throughout your career, but they had like a day where the season ticket holders could come out, and it was like a private like meet and greet, and the team spoke, and we kind of gathered around the front rows, and the team talked, and I do remember Darryl Dawkins. And actually, I met you that day. My dad took a picture with like a disposable camera, and he was the worst photographer ever. So I don't think I have a real good picture of you and I back then. But I remember, like, do you have any recollection of this whatsoever?
You're talking about over 40 years.
I know.
I mean, yeah. After I left the NBA, I went overseas, so I played like another 20 years overseas.
No, I know you did. I know you did.
So that's kind of a long ways off.
Yeah, I just remember Darryl Dawkins grabbing the mic and just like cutting it up and joking around with all the audience. He was like having like a stand-up comedian.
Yeah, but that's who he was.
Hilarious, and he was just
but that's who he was. I mean, he was the funniest guy that you ever wanted to meet. I remember this. We were playing against the Boston Celtics, and we were down by 1 with like 10 seconds left. And Stan Auerbach had called timeout. So he took the little man on the board and said, "Darryl, I want you here. Michael Ray, I want you here. Otis here. Buck here. Albert here." Right? So then Darryl stands up and say, "Coach, can you turn the board around?" Well, if you turn it around, it's the same thing. So the coach just picks up the board. "God damn it, Darryl!" And just snap the board down. Unbelievable. I mean, he was he was such a character.
One of a kind. One of a kind.
And I think you need those guys, right, during a long season.
Of course. I mean, he kept the locker room loose.
So to that point, who was the most intense player you played with?
Probably Buck Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, Buck was a hard worker. I mean, every time he came on that floor, he was serious about it. You know, he didn't do a lot. He didn't do like a lot of laughing and joking on the floor, but off the floor, he was a pretty good jokester.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's interesting. I never would have thought that because
I would have because Buck was always very
serious
persona.
He was always
tight and stuff. But I mean, like, off the floor, he was pretty loose.
And him and Albert, they went to Maryland together.
Yes.
And that was an interesting thing. And then you like one thing to just to go back to Otis. You mentioned Otis Birdsong. Otis was a great shooter and a good scorer back in the day, and he was a very good player for the Nets. But you and Otis have a special relationship.
Yeah, Otis and I, we have been friends over 40 years. We have our own company called Ballstars Youth Camps, and what we have been doing for like the last 12 years is we go around the country and we do free basketball camps for like underserved kids, ages 7 through 17.
Wow!
All over the United States.
That's amazing. And you were, when I first reached out to you, you were in Florida. You were there for like a month working with kids with underprivileged kids.
We had a month. Like we did like 4 different cities in Florida. We did Palm Beach Gardens, we did Winter Haven, Florida, we did Belglade, and the last week was Delray Beach.
That's unbelievable. That's good for you guys. That's amazing that you guys just using your knowledge and all the things you've learned and working with kids, and especially kids who could use the help and might not have the resources to be able to pay for expensive camps. You guys are doing it for charity, right?
Yeah. I mean, all of our camps are free. Matter of fact, the next camp is like the first 3 weeks of August. We're going to be up in Paterson, New Jersey. The old owner, Joe Taub, he was bringing me in and Otis in to do, basketball camps for like that, area, because that's where he was from.
Okay.
And so now after he has passed away, his son-in-law and his daughter has kept it going.
Really?
And so every year, Otis and I, we go back to Paterson and we do these camps. And we've been doing them for the last 9 years. That's
unbelievable.
Yes.
That's unbelievable. That's great. I remember Joe Taub. He was another very nice guy.
He was unbelievable.
I used to run into him. Actually, it's right by my house now. He used to go to a restaurant called the Kosher Nosh.
Yes.
One day I was wearing a Nets shirt and I was walking by and some guy grabbed me and said, "The Nets owner is eating right there." He goes, "Look." And I walked by the window of the restaurant and I showed him my shirt and he jumped up and he started clapping.
Right. I mean, he, you know what? There is not another owner like him in this world. He was one of a kind.
Really? Yeah. And he was he had like the white hair and always dressed nicely, distinguished, like gentleman type of guy, right?
Yes, he was a very, very good looking man.
Yeah, that was awesome. So now you mentioned Stan Auerbach. He was one of your coaches with the Nets, and
yes.
How did you get along with Stan?
Stan was great.
Good guy.
Stan, he was a offensive coach. He was a great offensive mind. Our defensive coach was a guy by the name of John Killerly. He came from the Milwaukee Bucks.
Okay.
And so he just focused on the defense, and Stan, he focused on the offense. I love Stan because he was a guard. His whole offense came through the guards.
Well, you really ran that team, and as you went, that team went, and that team was a very successful team. But I think you running the point on that team and using your unique talent and ability made that team really go, and you really, use that to compete with the big boys. And at the time, you're talking about, right? You're talking about the Celtics and the Sixers and the Lakers on the West Coast, but you had a lot of very interesting matchups. But at that time, I think specifically in those few years there, you were talking about those Sixer teams with Dr. J in his prime, Moses Malone in his prime, and
Maurice Cheeks, Andrew
Toney was a shooter and a slasher, and that that was a great. That was a loaded team. And when you talk about Moses Malone in his prime, he was really almost impossible to stop. He wasn't the tallest. He just was he was a tough. It was an impossible guy to guard, right? I would imagine.
Yeah, he was just gonna outwork everybody. His whole thing was, I don't have a lot of just like basketball skills or talent. I'm just gonna outwork everybody, and he did just that, and he became a Hall of Famer. Yep.
He was a great player, but you guys were kind of the thorn in their side a little bit, right?
Well, what we did with Philly, we had matched up with them really, really well. Our guards was we were just as good as their guards. And so one player that Julius Erving he didn't want to see was Albert King.
Yeah.
Because he caught Doc on his downswing. So Albert, he was young and energetic and moving around. Well, Doc didn't really want to play defense. So we knew that once we played Philly that we were going to make Julius have to guard him.
Got it.
I hate to see Albert King.
That's very interesting.
But Michael Ray, I think also, for yourself, you have a 6'5" guard, bringing the ball up court. You were Magic before Magic.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So they had a hard time, like, what was that like? Where they saying, man, this huge guy is like coming down the court and he's handling the ball.
What I tried to do was, we always tried to take advantage of the smaller guard. We would make Isaiah, Maurice Cheeks, guys that were great players, but we wanted them to play on the other end also. Because a lot of guys that play offense don't really want to play defense. So what you got to do is you got to kind of keep them honest.
So you imposed your will on them.
Yes.
But you could move with them, but you were just a rangy big guy who would just tower over those guys and could take them down on the other end of the court.
I think what made me so successful is that I came from a guy by the name of Jud Heathcote who loved to play defense.
Yeah.
And so my whole game was first playing defense and second playing offense.
But you would turn your defense into offense.
Yes, because I know I was always told, if you want to get to the next level, you got to be able to play defense, because there's $1 million scorers in the NBA, but there's not any $1 million defensive players in the NBA.
Interesting.
And so I always thought about it. If I'm going to get there, I'm going to get there on the defensive end.
That makes sense. And you did. You definitely did. Now, Michael Ray, Larry Brown was also a coach of yours with the Nets.
Yes. Larry was a basketball whiz. And he understood the game really, really well. A lot of guys didn't really like Larry because Larry, he's a control guy. He wants to control every play down the floor and all that. But I didn't have a problem with Larry.
Do you think that was the issue with him and AI?
Of course it was early on. And plus, Larry was a guy that he loved to have basketball. He loved to have practice. He thinks everything is done through practice, which it makes a lot of sense. Because if you don't do it in practice, how can you do it in a game?
And we know what AI thinks about practice.
Yeah, and so you have to. I mean, I was a coach, so I knew that I wanted to make sure that I had everything done for the games. So I had to do it in practice. Yeah. To me, it made a lot of sense.
100%.
Yeah.
Michael Ray, but Larry, when he left under it wasn't the best way he left, right?
Yeah, well, what happened was, we had, heard that he was going to leave, and we were in Detroit on the road. He called us in because we had a game that night. So he called us in during the shoot around and said, I don't read what you don't believe, what you hear. I'm not going anywhere, none of that stuff. Meanwhile, he had already signed the contract. And he left the next day. I mean, it was like a shock, but
Wow.
Larry didn't really like a lot of conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he wanted to be in the college game because he's a great teacher.
Yeah.
Guys in the NBA is at a different level where I'm already here. I don't really need to be taught. You know what I mean? And
he was definitely
Larry
better.
Had a problem with that.
He was definitely better suited for a college coach. Although obviously, like you said, he was a basketball wizard. He knows the game inside and out and all that stuff. But like you said, like with the personalities and stuff, and like you said, he could control the college kids. And we're having practice here. I'm sure there was moaning and groaning when you were having practices when you guys didn't want to practice or whatever. So that makes a lot of sense. And the other thing I wanted to talk about your Nets days is the Christmas Day game. Now, again, this is one that's in my head indelibly.
It's always in my head.
I bet it is. So at this time,
I beat Willoughby Brown. I beat the guy that traded me.
That's right. He traded you. He traded you. I forgot about that part.
Yeah.
But what I remember. So at that time, we talked about Albert King, his brother Bernard at that time, who actually ironically started with the Nets and ended up with the Knicks.
Yes.
He was on an historic run. This guy became a scoring machine with the Knicks, and he was lighting things up. And at that time, it was a big battle, and it was a Christmas Day. I do not know the year, but I know it was Christmas Day. And it was going to be a big game. And I remember this distinctly. Bernard King was on one of those rolls where he was scoring 50 points a game.
Matter of fact, he had just came off a Texas swing where he averaged 60 points.
He was just lighting.
He was on an unbelievable. He was on unbelievable but a scoring binge.
He was
and he was unbelievable. But even playing against us on Christmas Day, he scored 60 on us, but he just didn't have enough.
He didn't have, and the Nets won the game. And I'm going to tell you this. I had the newspaper back page of the Post hanging in my room for a long time. My mom, I think, took it down finally. But the headlines was Kings 60 soured by sugar.
Yes.
You scored 35 points that night.
I remember like it was yesterday. It was a great game. It was on Christmas Day.
Everybody was watching.
After like a coach trades you, it's like a grudge. You want to get back to showing, this is what you missed. And I was on one of those runs. You know what I mean?
But the thing is, and this is one of the reasons why I think I just always gravitated towards you and your game. You weren't a huge scorer, but you scored when you needed to score. And I felt like that was one of those games where you just took the game over. And I always felt like when I watched you play, you could do that at any time, but you chose not to. You chose to be a traditional point guard, distribute the ball, make sure the guys got the ball in position, kept your big man happy. Again, different in the game today.
Yeah, I was always taught, and I was taught this really by Larry Brown. If you keep the big players happy, they're gonna work the whole game. They're gonna rebound for you. They're gonna play defense. They're gonna set screens. if a guy's not getting the basketball, he feels like he's not even involved in the game.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is, as a point guard, you can shoot anytime that you get ready because you got the ball. So what your job is to do is to keep everybody else happy. And so my whole thing was, I knew I could score when I got ready, but I wanted to keep everybody else happy. And if the game was on the line, I was going to take over.
Yep, and I can attest for that because I always felt like that thing. And it's funny, my dad was a big fan of the Brooklyn Dodgers. He loved Jackie Robinson, and he always said to me, Jackie Robinson. I said, Jackie Robinson. I said, who's the best player you ever saw in baseball? He said, Jackie Robinson. I said, but Willie Mays and Babe Ruth and all that stuff. He said, Chris, Jackie Robinson could do anything he wanted to whenever he wanted to. He just played the game the right way. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He didn't hit too many home runs. And he was like, Chris, he could hit a home run. If he needed a home run, he would hit the home run. But that wasn't his game, so he didn't do that. That was, you were kind of like that to me. I always felt like you could take the game over at any time, and when you felt like you needed to, you would.
Yes, and I did. I mean, just like when we had beat the Philadelphia 76ers that the year after they had won the NBA.
84, I think.
84.
So I remember we were playing in Philly. We won the first two. So we go home and kind of relax, and we lose the next two. So we wake up the next morning in the newspaper. There's a big newspaper. Dr. J. Julius Irving, you might as well mail in the stat sheet. This series is over. And we read that. We said, oh, no. Oh, no, that's not going to happen. You know what I mean? And we went in there and we won Game 5 in Philly. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I remember also, this is crazy that I'm thinking about this. Some of those games weren't even on live TV. You had to watch like a tape delay or listen on the radio. I remember this. It's crazy.
It's amazing now because even when I was coming up as a kid, we would only watch one game a week on CBS in a delayed telecast.
Isn't that crazy?
It's unbelievable now. And now there's basketball on like every channel.
Yeah. No. You can. And there's nothing. You can't. Any game is on. I mean, you can find any game any day.
The TV contracts are so huge now. That's why these players are making all that money.
Exactly.
I mean, everybody's always thinking and looking like, this player signed this, player signed this. They never say what the owners are making.
No. I say that all the time.
Yeah, we say that all the time.
Hey, listen, Michael Ray, I'm an agent.
So, how much are they really making?
And Michael Ray, I say it all the time. I'm an agent, as you know, a baseball agent.
Right.
I say it all the time. People say, oh, the players make too much money. I don't like the game anymore. I'm like, wait a minute. These owners are not dummies. They didn't get rich by being dummies.
Exactly.
They're making a lot of money. They're paying what they can afford.
I mean, if you look at it now, all of these NBA teams are selling for like billions of dollars.
Look at the Charlotte Hornets.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's a joke.
It's crazy.
I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, there's so much money.
So much money going around.
There's so much money going on now. I mean, it's, listen, like Bill Russell and them, they paved the way for us.
Yep.
Now we pave the way for like these kids.
Yep.
But like in this year generation, I don't know if these guys really have appreciated what we have done for them.
Probably not.
No, probably not.
I mean, it's just. But I mean, we respect our, elders. But I don't know if these guys, if they really respect us.
No. I kind of think you're right. I think some people do. Probably a lot don't. In my opinion.
Yeah.
Michael Ray. So that point, comparing eras, right?
Uh-huh.
Where do you feel you match up in what era? Could you play in today's game?
I mean, I could play if I played in this era, I'd be on the foul line 10 or 15 times a game. Because of the way that they're calling the game so close.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that the NCAA doing the March Madness is much more physical than the NBA game.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Michael, it's funny. I show my kids, I have an 11 and a 9-year-old, and I show them highlights of the the 80s and stuff when guys are going to the, and getting just absolutely murdered. And that's not even nobody gets up and shoot foul shots. I mean,
I guess just because there's so much money in it now that they're trying to protect the players.
There's no question about it. And
they're taking the fun out of it too. Yeah. I mean, like when you watch these All-Star games, it's like watching the Harlem Globetrotters. There's like no kind of like competition or anything.
They have competition the last 30 seconds of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, and now the fans are getting smart because this year, this year past the All-Star game, everybody was saying how it was a joke.
Yeah.
And it was just unbelievable. It's not even basketball anymore.
Yeah.
It's so true. They started doing it in football too. The Pro Bowl, they stopped doing the Pro Bowl because no one was even blocking. They were just standing there.
Yeah. I mean, so like, what's the use to even having that game?
Yeah.
Very true. Very true. I wanted to, it was funny. You had said a few minutes ago about how, Larry Brown had kind of instilled in you, keep your big man happy. The game, and Lou just had asked you about how the game has changed and everything. I mean, now you see big guys, they don't even go on the blocks anymore. Well, they stand outside the 3-point arc.
Well, because now it's like a different mentality. It's a different league. It's called analytics. Well, whatever analytics is, I mean, I have no idea. I was always taught the closest one to the basket is a high percentage shot.
That's right.
So now, in like the game today, teams are trying to shoot between 40 and 53s. And I could see if they were shooting 40%, 30%. These teams are shooting 20, 25% for the game.
Yep.
That's not a high percentage shot, if you ask me, if I was coaching.
Yeah.
No,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. My whole thing is now is the average big man, if you can't step out and shoot a 3, then you can't play in this league.
That's right. Yeah. Well, look in the last few drafts or whatever, you had DeAndre Ayton, who's a very good player, but they don't use him like a center. The guy Wiseman got hurt. The guy the Warriors took and just got traded. But Wiseman's another one. I mean, he's never found a role because
he's lost.
Yeah, he's lost. He doesn't know what.
He can't score outside of the free throw line.
Yeah.
If you can't step out and shoot the 3, you're not good in the game anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why Jokić is so good, right? Because he can play inside out.
But listen, once again, he's a European player, so he's really, really fundamentally sound.
Yep.
I mean, he can do it all. You know what I mean? I mean, everybody can say, "Oh, he's a true basketball player. He understands the game in all aspects." You know what I mean?
Yep.
He's a great passer. He can shoot the ball. He plays the defense because he's so big. And in this day and time, being a center, you really don't have to play defense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's not really like a lot of banging and stuff. It's like set a screen, move back, push the guy out. I mean, it's a whole different game.
Yeah. Yep.
And do you think that today's game, with the influx of European players, is that a good thing for the NBA?
I think it's a great thing because now it's worldwide. The audience have expanded all over the world now. You know what I mean? And so it's good for the game. Plus, there's a lot of good European players that have came into the NBA that has been really, really successful. Now, back when I played, they never would have went out and got, because there was so many good, fundamentally basketball players here.
Do you think that the USA player looks at the European player and says, "Man, I want to follow that," right? As opposed to, they're set in their ways of this is the game that we play, as opposed to, hey, let me adapt to what these guys are doing, and look at Luka in Dallas and Jokić and see like, hey, these guys
What?
are
No, you know what? I think a lot of our guys are set in their ways.
Yeah.
And I must say, our guys are more athletically, physically much better than the European players, my opinion. But the European players are much more fundamentally sound. It's the difference, you know what I mean? And so their game is good for our game.
Yeah. And I think that their game gives you longevity, right? Because you're not going to be above the rim when you're 39, you know?
And that's why these here European guys are able to play the game for so long, because if you're really, really athletic and your whole game is in your legs, when you get 35, 36, you ain't gonna have the same legs you had when you were 25, 26. You know what I mean? So it's a big difference. So that's why I was able to play for so long. I wasn't a high jumper, but I had great fundamentally skills, and I knew the game. I played till I was 46.
Michael Ray, let's talk about that. People
so,
don't. I think people maybe people don't. I think maybe people didn't. Maybe lost track of where you went when you finished playing in the NBA. You actually went to Europe, and you just said it. You played till you were 46 years old.
So I'm gonna go back early on. So in like 1987, 88, when I was suspended, and then they said I was banned for ever, that I wouldn't be able to play again in the NBA. So I played a year in the CBA under Bill Musselman. Oh, we were 65-10, and we won a championship. Gosh. And a guy by the name of Bob Hill used to coach in the NBA.
Yeah, Bob Hill. Yeah.
He took a job in Italy, and he brought me along with him. So in Italy, the team where I went to in Bologna, they had a 6-year losing season. So when the first year that like Bob and I got there, we won the Italy Cup and the Italy Championship.
Oh my God!
And we had qualified for the Euro League the following year. So Bob, he took another job in the NBA, and then the assistant coach, who was a Italian guy, his name was F.M. Messina. He had took over the following year. So that following year, I had a chance to come back to the Philadelphia 76ers under Gene Shue and Harold Katz. Johnny Dawkins had tore up his knee, and they wanted to bring me back, which they really never talk about this, but they wanted to bring me back, and they only wanted to give me just 1 year. So I said, if you give me like another year guarantee, I will come back. So they said no. So I decided to stay in Europe, which was the best move ever. So I spent a year in Israel, a year in Croatia, 8 years in Italy, and the rest of my time in the south of France.
Wow. That's unbelievable.
And so while I was over there, I won a EuroLeague Cup. I won an Italian Cup 3 times, and I won an Italian Championship. And then I went to France. I won a French Championship, and I won 2 French Cups.
Wow! As a player.
All as a player.
Unbelievable,
wow. Man. Michael Ray. So it's a 2-part question. The first one is, playing till you're 46, were you one of these athletes that you wanted to play no matter what? They would have to tear the uniform off of you for you to retire.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just love the game. And so in France, we were only playing like twice a week. We were playing on Sunday for the French Championship, and we was playing on Wednesday for the EuroLeague. So I wasn't doing a lot of practice. I was getting a lot of rest. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And so the coach that we had, his name was Jacques Monclar. He understood the game because he was a French player. So he kind of understood that, you're not going to, work your, older guys, because I played with like a lot of French veteran guys.
Yeah.
Guys who knew how to play. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And so it was a different game for us. I mean, you know, like, down the stretch, I would take over every game. You know, I mean, I would get in and guys knew that if the game was on the line and the game, it was close, I was getting the ball every time down the stretch. And I was, and as long as you're winning and you're responding, you're going to keep a job.
That's awesome. And what was your favorite city to play in?
My favorite city is, boy, I like the French Riviera, but I'm a king in Bologna. And I was there about a month ago. Then I hadn't been back in about 10 years. And so I walked into the arena for a game. I got a standing ovation for like almost 15 minutes. Unbelievable. I mean, I was shocked because like a lot of these people, when I was there, they wasn't even born. You know what I mean? So it was a lot of, mom and dad had told them about me.
Oh, that's
awesome. So it was just unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable. It was unbelievable. I was shocked.
That's got to be some kind of, that's got to be some kind of feeling. It's got to bring up a lot of emotion.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was unbelievable.
That's crazy. That is crazy. So then the next step, you stayed in Europe when you stopped playing after 46 and you started coaching.
Yes, but
how did that start?
Okay, so like what happened was I have 2 kids in the south of France. Matter of fact, I have a son that right now plays professional soccer. He's 21 years old. He's playing right now. Wow. Like right now he's in Morocco because he's playing with the Moroccan national team.
Oh, wow.
Because he has a French passport, American passport, and a Moroccan passport. His mom is Moroccan and French.
Wow.
And so he's over there. And so like what happened was I couldn't get a job once it was all over. So I said, let me get back to America and see if I can find a job because I wanted. So I called the commissioner, which at that time was David Stern. He made some calls and I was able to get a job as an NBA, as a ambassador for the Denver Nuggets. So I took that job for like about a year and a half. And then I decided I had a coaching offer up in Albany, New York. So I said, well, I always wanted to, coach to see if I could do it. So I said, let me go up here and see if I can coach. So I took the coaching job. In my first year, it was crazy because in the minor leagues, you have like 9 moves during the whole year where you can change players. So I had took a lot of college guys because I didn't really know. So after that first week, I used all 9 moves. I brought in all veteran players because I got smart. You know what I mean? Because it's really hard to win with young guys. You have to get guys that can play and guys that understands the game. So I won a championship in the CBA up in Albany my second year. Then I had an offer in Oklahoma to come and coach. So I moved from Albany to Oklahoma. And then the cost of living here was so cheap. I had a 3,000 square foot home built for $180,000.
Oh my God.
So I moved here. I had a house built. So I won the next 3 championships here. And I won 2 in the CBA and 1 in the PBL. Then after that, I had another offer to go coach in London, Ontario, Canada. So I took that job. In the first 2 years, I won 2 championships, and I was the coach of the year each year. And then my third year, I got to the finals, and I lost in the finals because my point guard, he had got hurt. So after that, I said I was trying to get to the D League or get a look in NBA, and so I didn't get a look, so I just quit coaching.
And what year was that?
That was I quit coaching in 2017.
So,
Wow.
But is it true? Are you thinking about maybe even making a comeback again as a coach?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I missed the game, and I would like to probably get in if it's a good situation, I would do it. You know what I mean?
We'll be talking more about that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to do it because I know that now in Canada there's a lot of good leagues over there, and so I'm trying to really get back to Canada.
Well, we'll talk about that off the air.
Okay, great.
I have a question for you, a general question.
Okay.
You played for a long career, for as long as you played.
Mm-hmm.
Give me your top 5 toughest matchups for you. You were a matchup problem for most people. Who are the ones that for you that gave you trouble?
Isaiah Thomas.
Okay.
Magic.
Yep.
Sidney Moncrief.
Oh, Sidney Moncrief.
Sidney Moncrief, I remember.
Michael Jordan. And there was one more. Guard. Dennis Johnson.
Dennis Johnson.
Yeah.
So the bigger guards. I mean, well, Isaiah was a smaller one.
But who was the toughest out of all of them was George Gervin.
George Gervin.
When I tell you that he can put the ball in the basket, there was nobody like him.
No, Gervin was like a 6'4" guy, right?
No, he was about 6'7", 6'8".
He was. Oh, so he was that, and he could.
But
shoot.
he was a scoring machine. I remember, and I'll never forget it. He was playing against us because he was going against David Thompson for that scoring title, and so that afternoon, I think David had scored like 61, and so that evening I would have to score like 65 or 67 so he can take over. In the first 12 minutes, he had 35 points and he didn't even sweat.
Oh my God!
He played 3 quarters, ended up with 69 points. Didn't play the fourth. When I tell you he was a scoring machine. So
the Iceman could.
He could put the ball in the basket.
He was hard to handle.
He could put it in the basket.
Got it. Lou, I mean, we have a lot of good stuff we covered here in this. Lou, do you have anything else for Michael Ray while we have him?
No, just know that, first of all, we need you back in the game for sure.
Yes, and I would love to be back in the game.
We need, and Chris and I have spoken about this. Like, I'm an NBA fan. I love the game, but I miss the way, and it's not like, oh, back in my day, I just miss the way the game was played. Because I think today's game, for me, I get bored easily.
Yeah,
I don't start viewing until like the fourth quarter.
Right. I mean, I just like basketball, and I think now the NBA it's like a pro-am league. The way they just run up and down and shoot threes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they just run up and down and shoot threes. It's like, I'm going to outscore you. It's not really like a lot of just lockdown defense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These guys are getting like wide open looks. And I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's just a different game because I guess now they're looking for more scoring. The NBA likes a lot of scoring.
Look, I marvel at the talent, and I love Dame and Steph and all those guys. But to me, the game isn't step across half court and shoot it. There's so much more to it, and I agree with Lou. I miss that. Sounds like you miss it too, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, I miss coming down, throwing the ball into the big fella. He turning around and shooting a sky hook, or if he gets the double team, he'll kick the ball out. You know what I mean? It's just unbelievable. It's just a whole different game. But I guess with these players now, I mean, because you really don't have like big guys that can play with their backs to the basket neither.
No, that's the thing, because it's not required of them anymore.
Exactly. So it's a different game. I mean, it's just a different game. I mean, it's this is what the fans want to see now. They want to see a lot of scoring, and like a lot to do with that is social media.
Yeah. 100%.
You know, I mean,
it's changed the world.
It changed the world.
Basketball. It's going to change the world already.
Change the world.
And one other separate side note, we might have to edit this one and fix it up. But
okay,
Larry, you have any Larry Bird stories? A good Larry Bird story?
Larry was a trash talker.
Yeah, he's we've heard that. We've heard that.
But he was a great player. I mean, if you could play, he would respect you. If you can play, he would let you know. You know what I mean?
That's funny. Now, Michael Ray, the last thing, we're going to let you go. I told you I had a surprise for you.
Yes.
So hold on one second. I want to come around here for a second. I got somebody I want you to meet.
Okay.
Come here, dude. So this is my son. He's my 9-year-old. Come kneel down a little bit.
Well, hey, man, what's going on, buddy?
So Michael Ray Richardson.
Yes.
I want to introduce you to Michael Ray Leible.
What's up, buddy? Michael Ray. Hey, if you got Michael Ray, that's a hell of a name, buddy. That's a hell of a name.
People ask me where I got the name from.
All righty.
Now you know.
Buddy. All right. Hey, from Michael Ray to another Michael Ray, keep working, buddy.
Okay.
All right.
Michael Ray Richardson, thank you so much.
Thank you guys, man. I really appreciate it.
Really appreciate you taking the time and talking to us. It was great hearing from you. I will be in touch with you shortly.
Okay.
And thanks for everything, man.
Thank you guys, man. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, man. Thank you guys.
You got it. Take care.
All right, bye.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was awesome.
Very good. Very good. He was great. I mean, very engaging. Great stories, great everything. It was just it was a great episode.
Oh, no, it definitely was, man. It definitely was.